Good to go.
Good to go.
All right. Welcome back to another segment of Questions Answered. You're here with your hosts,
Billy.
and Travis. So we got 3 more questions today, and I guess we'll go ahead and tackle them. So the first is from Chris, and he wants to know what our favorite book of the Bible is.
So I guess I'll start. I would say Romans, at least for now, is probably my favorite part, just because it goes through different pieces of talks about idols, talks about faith. There's just a lot of good things that's in that story that I really enjoy, and I learned a lot from. I don't have my Bible in front of me, but I have a ton of notes in the Romans chapter, or Romans book, and just really enjoyed that. So
awesome. Yeah, favorite book for me. I don't know if it's. This was tough. We sat for a while trying to figure this out. Favorite for me. I have a lot of favorites. But for me, I think the most relatable book would have to be Job. In my past, like, you want to thank God for everything that's going great in your life, but I had a bad habit of like blaming God when things didn't go right in my life. And after we did a study on Job, it really it changed my way of thinking. Job was this guy that was given everything, blessed by God, and it's one of the only stories in the Bible too where actually Satan and God have an interaction together. And you learn at that point that everything that's happened to Job. So God asked, basically Satan comes to God, and God asked him what he'd been doing. He said he'd been toiling around on the earth. And God asked him, well, what do you think about my faithful servant, Job? And he kind of mocks God and said, well, you gave him everything. Of course he's happy and he loves you and serves you. So God said, okay, well, you can test him, but you can't kill him. Mm-hmm. And so it was very interesting to see what the dynamic was. Job never lost his faith, even though everybody was telling him that he was sinning against God and that's why all this stuff was happening to him. It wasn't. He was being tested by Satan, and he passed. But at one point he did question God, and God answered him and basically said, where were you? Where were you when I created the heavens and the earth? Where were you? And he just showed basically how small we are and how, God wants us to be a big, significant part of his life, but we are still terribly small. And it was real humbling to me to realize that, this person kept his faith through all that. And I feel like even though I ran from God, like I still kept my faith. And that's ultimately what brought me back. So I have to say, for me, it's been the most eye-opening book. Yeah. Got a lot of favorites, but
awesome. Yeah. I gave a short answer. You gave a long answer.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just fresh on my mind when we were talking about it. I was like, man,
it's like,
so
good.
For me, it's
all good.
But yeah, so this next one comes from Patricia again, and it's being that it's past, but National Women's Day just passed recently. How would you help women or your wives to become stronger or live happier lives? So this one was even harder to
a little bit tougher.
Yeah. So I guess we kind of broke it up into 2 things. So like our wives. And
like a perspective of being
so this is a man's perspective, so don't get us wrong. I talked to my wife about this, and we had totally different ideas. So, but for me, I would say for my wife, we were talking, we both go to work. We work long hours. We come home and we want that, sometimes we want that alone time or that digression, to digress and get into it. But for me, it would have to be intentionally for my wife to have, not an easier life, but like a more happier life. For me to be intentionally aware of my situation and to know, without her even asking me, to do the dishes, pick up around the house, clean up, take care of the girls, get the bath water going for them, do the jammies before she's having to nag at me for doing it, because I should be doing it anyways, and just staying on top of it to make her life just a little bit more breathable, because like our wives have our kids all the time, so we homeschool, so not only when they're at school teaching them, then they're at home with them just 24/7. So just to be real conscious of that as far as wives go.
Yeah, I mean, I'll piggyback off that. I mean, it's really just showing that support, that love, even when it's not asked for, just helping out around the house, just like Travis said, just doing things that you typically do when she asks, but just outside of that, that way, just staying ahead of her, always stay 1-2 steps ahead of her, and man, it's going to make a difference. And just providing that support and encouragement, anything she does, listening, always have a listening ear. Maybe she's having to think through some issues or so. Don't always, as husbands, don't always show up trying to give answers. Listen.
Yeah, listen. Yes.
And maybe a solution she already has. Just kind of let her figure that out and encourage them. So that's what I have.
Good point. So second part of that for other women, we were thinking of our kids because we have a lot of girls. Yeah. I think too it would be, and too to make them stronger with our wives too, to make them stronger. Just I would say for my wife to give her a little bit more, by doing those things I could give her a little bit more quiet time so she can do her Bible study. She can do she's currently doing two or three different Bible studies right now. So to let her jump into those, take care of those without having 90 mommy, I need this, I need that kind of things going on. But as far as our kids go, and we kind of talked about this. So we did a podcast right before this, and we kind of talked about this too. So just raising our kids in a way that in the future they would look for in a significant other a strong, Christ-like person that's going to help lead the family. So they're not stuck trying to do it themselves, or they're not and this is off in the future. We're still quite a ways away from that, but there's a lot of building up to that, especially when you're raising daughters. So just leading by example and showing them, like our daddy-daughter dates. We do the daddy-daughter dance. So showing up, ringing the doorbell, picking them up one by one, giving them a rose, escorting them to the car, showing them what a real man is supposed to do. Not driving in, honking, telling them to jump in the car. Just showing them how they're supposed to be treated. So when they do go out into the world and they start dating, they know exactly how they would not want to be treated.
No, I agree with that. And also helping them set goals, helping them achieve those goals. I think that's a big thing too, because once they accomplish those goals, I mean, just that confidence builder is boost, not only with your wives, but daughters as well. So, that's a great question. I only had to kind of sit down and think about it.
We were here for a while thinking about that. Didn't know which direction we're going to go in. So thank you for that, Patricia. So last one, favorite story or parable from the Bible. This is also from Chris.
Yeah, actually, I have it right in front of me. I did. I just want to make sure I had it right. So, for me, it was in Luke 7, where a sinful woman was forgiven. I mean, Jesus is there with the Pharisees and actually having dinner. And check this. I mean, check it out. It's a great story. This woman actually is weeping at his feet. Washes Jesus' feet, and I mean, she's doing things that the Pharisees didn't do, and all the Pharisees can do is just sit there and just kind of judge her on what she's doing. But the most power, I'll let you guys check it out, but the last verse is what I thought was powerful, and he said to the woman, "Your faith has saved you. Go in peace." And that's really strong in this story. So that's one of my favorites. Check it out, Luke 7.
It's a good one, man.
Yeah, scope it out.
You have the most faithful men around Jesus, and she's the one washing his feet. Like, man, really good story. I would have to say Jonah would probably, the story of Jonah, and I think it's mainly because I can relate to it as much. Once again, I mean, like we were going over this. There's so many good. Exodus, like you're saying, Romans was awesome. Colossians. There's so many really. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. You can go through all of them. They're great, but for me, like So Joby Martin at church was it 1122.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he did that sermon on Jonah, and putting it into context, like it's very powerful. So Jonah was a missionary and a prophet, and he was going around, and basically he was having the easy life, and he wanted the easy life, and God asked him to go to a place that, for me, when I read it a long time ago, it just looked like Jonah was running from God. But no, Jonah was terrified, because the place they were sending him to, they were slaughtering anyone that was coming. And like, not, I'm talking like Braveheart type of slaughtering, on the rack, cutting them up, like doing some grotesque stuff to these people that were coming to mission as a prophet of God. And so he was terrified about going to this location, and he wanted to go to a real cushy location where everyone was accepting of Christians. And so he went against God, and God wouldn't let him do that. So God ended up intervening and making sure he went there, and basically told him that he would protect him as long as he had his faith, and he did. So for me, like, that's been my MO my whole life. Like, I've always been running, and at one point I was running as hard as I could to get away from God, and God put people in my life like Billy and Miriam, and so many other people we met along the way that just didn't let that happen. Not that they were like forcing me, handcuffing me, making it a church, but just, having these relationships and stuff. God put these people in my life that have severely changed the course and direction of my life, and it's led me right where I'm at. And I still feel like I'm running, but I'm no longer running from God. I'm running to God. It's just been this complete change of direction, and seeing that, and knowing how far I've come, it's really relatable for me.
Yeah.
So
That's a good story as well.
yeah. So, but yeah, that's about it. That's the three we got today. We have probably, we just filmed or we just shot another audio podcast before this with Scott. Great, love to hear this guy's testimony. Been all over the world as a missionary, Thailand, China, Croatia.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Awesome story. Great person, good friend, fellow homeschooler. So. Yeah, that should be coming out right after this comes out, so stay tuned for that. And if y'all have any more questions, hit us up either on YouTube or through our Facebook page. Let us know, and we'll definitely answer your questions. You got anything?
That's all I got. Yeah, check us out. We'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank y'all. Left this sucker on, so hopefully the battery's still good. Where's the light? Oh, it's up. Yeah, it's green. Yeah, it's up. Okay. We'll try that.